Welcome to Bangkok, Thailand, the land of smiles, and unfortunately, the land of scams. Right now, someone just got scammed, and in 10 seconds, it'll happen again and again. I've lived here for 8 years, and I've seen it all. The tourist who paid $200 for a $6 taxi ride, the couple charged $600 for 2 beers, the traveler who lost their passport to a jet ski rental scam. But here's the thing, every single one of these scams is 100% avoidable if you know what to look for. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how scammers operate in Bangkok, and more importantly, how to spot them before they spot you. Because knowledge isn't just power here, it's money in your pocket. I'm going to cover 30 different scams across transportation, sightseeing, rentals, nightlife, and more. The first scam you might encounter occurs when you walk out of the main airport at Suvarnabhumi. From the airport, you'll have 2 options for taking a taxi into the city. You can walk directly outside at the second level, and here you'll find plenty of taxis sitting and waiting. A tout will come and ask you where you're going. I recently returned from a trip and the tout quoted me at 1,000 baht. I immediately turned around and went down 1 floor to level 1. On level 1, you'll find the regulated airport taxis. These taxis use a metered rate plus a 50 baht airport surcharge. The ride cost 150 baht plus the 50 baht airport surcharge. If you plan to take a taxi from the airport, always take a taxi from the regulated airport stand. Just keep in mind that if you're driving into the city, normally you will have to pay a toll. The driver will ask you to pay it and you'll be given a receipt. The airport taxi scam is one example of a very common scam here in Bangkok. This is the no-meter taxi scam. In Bangkok, taxis are legally required to use the meter, and the meter is very inexpensive, but this law is often ignored. You'll encounter many taxis that refuse to use the meter and demand a set price for a trip. That price is often much higher than the metered rate. First, you should always avoid taking a taxi that's waiting by the curb in a popular tourist area. These taxis will almost always demand a set price. You should wave down a taxi that's driving by on the street, and when you get in, they should turn on the meter. If the driver doesn't turn on the meter, say meter crop, this is a polite way of asking them to use the meter. And if they refuse to turn on the meter, simply get out of the taxi and wave down another taxi. It's quite common to wave down multiple taxis in popular tourist areas before a driver will agree to use the meter. Once you've successfully waved down a taxi and they've agreed to use the meter, you might encounter the fast meter scam. A journey of 5 kilometers with light traffic will normally cost you about 55 baht, and a 10-kilometer journey will normally cost you about 80 baht. The meter goes up slowly and steadily, but on this particular journey, the meter started racing at about 5 times the normal rate. It's a meter that's rigged to speed up when the driver hits a switch. Just keep an eye on the meter. And if the meter suddenly starts jumping by 2 baht every few seconds, you have a taxi with a fast meter. This scam can also occur with a meter that suddenly stops working. And when the meter stops working, the driver will use it as an excuse to demand a much higher set fare. If this occurs, it's best to simply offer the amount that was on the meter, get out, and get a new taxi. But even if the meter is on and running correctly, you might encounter the scenic route scam. In this situation, the driver takes a much longer route in order to increase the fare. And this one can be pretty annoying because it will also add significant time to your journey. The best way to avoid this scam is to simply open Google Maps when you get into the taxi and track the route that the driver is taking. When the driver begins to take the wrong direction, normally I'll tell them to go the right direction, and if they refuse, I'll tell them to let me out of the car. During your taxi ride, your driver might also recommend that you check out some different places while you're in Bangkok. In this situation, it doesn't really matter what they recommend. Like, you should never go. There are a lot of scams that start this way. You have overpriced seafood restaurants, overpriced gem shops, overpriced tailors, overpriced tours. You get the idea. Taxi drivers are a little bit like affiliate marketers. They have you in their back seat and they hit you with a 20-minute sales pitch. They'll get a commission for bringing you to any one of these overpriced shops. But there are also situations where the driver will deliberately bring you to the wrong location. A very common example of this is when you take a taxi to popular floating markets. Unscrupulous taxi drivers have been known to bring unsuspecting tourists to the wrong pier. If they bring you to that wrong pier, you'll be asked to pay 2,000 baht in order to enter the floating market with a boat ride. You should always keep your Google Maps open and make sure that the driver is taking you to the correct destination. We've covered a lot here on transportation scams, and you might notice I didn't even mention tuk-tuks or motorbike taxis yet. These forms of transportation don't use meters, so none of the meter scams will apply. Instead, you'll always need to negotiate a price, and these drivers are known for significantly overcharging tourists. There's one simple rule you need to follow for any non-metered ride. Always make sure to agree upon a price before you start the trip. If you don't agree upon a price, the driver will demand as much money as possible when you arrive. The reality is, taxi fares are extremely cheap here in Bangkok, and many drivers will accept a reasonable price if you negotiate. But if you're new to Bangkok, it can be difficult to know if the price the driver offers is reasonable. Fortunately, you can find out very easily. Before you come to Bangkok, download the ride-hailing apps Grab and Bolt. These are the Ubers of Thailand. You simply put in your location and your destination, and the app will give you a set price. This is obviously quite useful for ordering a ride, but it can also be very good for checking prices if you negotiate a set fare, but not so fast. The ride-hailing apps are great, but the pricing on the Grab app in particular can be very questionable. For example, just last week I was booking a ride from the Asoke area around Terminal 21 to Central World. It's a distance of about 3 kilometers. The lowest set fare price given by Grab was 193 baht, but you can also select the Grab taxi option. With the Grab taxi option, you'll pay a normal metered fare plus a 20 baht booking fee to Grab. And for my 3-kilometer trip, the estimate was 170 to 250 baht plus the 20 baht booking fee. This is very high for a trip that never cost more than 80 baht. If you're booking a car on the Grab app, you should always ignore the metered taxi fare estimate. Use Bolt. Bolt prices are significantly lower and very accurate. For the exact same trip between Terminal 21 and Central World, the Bolt app gave me a very accurate metered estimate of 60 to 90 baht, and it also gave me the option to book a Bolt car with a set price of 70 baht, which was exactly the same as the meter fare that I paid. Even if you can't get a car from Bolt, you can use the price on the app to wave down a taxi and negotiate a reasonable fare. I recommend that you download both apps and check the prices on both applications before you order a car. Even if you get a reasonably priced ride, you still need to be careful with ride-hailing apps. They've become very popular, and with popularity, you get scams. I experienced a new one a couple of months ago. I often book a car using Bolt to travel between Bangkok and Pattaya. It only costs about 1,200 to 1,400 baht. On a recent trip, I was traveling with a couple of friends and we booked a car. The driver picked us up and drove us to Beach Road in Pattaya. He then asked us to change cars because he had a problem with his car. When we arrived in Bangkok, the driver asked for more money. I took out the app, showed him the price on the app. Eventually, he gave in and accepted the Bolt price. So we escaped any scam, but there was obviously an attempt to get a little bit of extra money. So my recommendation is to avoid any situation where the car changes. This means you're no longer taking the car that's registered on the app. But you might also encounter drivers that send you messages requesting more money to come and pick you up, or once you arrive, they'll ask for more money. This is much more common in cities like Phuket and Pattaya, but it can occur in Bangkok as well. In cities like Phuket, where there's a very tightly controlled taxi market, there's likely collusion between the taxi driver cartels and the drivers on the apps. They want to actually make the apps unusable, and this means that they'll randomly cancel at the last minute. They'll send messages requesting that you cancel. They don't move for 10 or 20 minutes, and you'll probably play a game of cat and mouse for a while before you get a legitimate driver. And there's a second hustle that I encountered about a year ago on Grab. This time I ordered the Grab taxi. This is the metered fare with a 20 baht booking surcharge. And when I got in the taxi, the meter was already at 50 baht. He had turned on the meter when he accepted the ride and was trying to charge me for driving to the location to pick me up. This is not how the Grab taxi option works, and I told this to the driver, and he reset the meter. The Grab driver should only turn on the meter when you get into the car. Let's move on to a scam you might encounter when traveling between cities by train or bus. When you approach a train or bus station, you might meet a tout who asks where you're going. They'll tell you there are no more seats on the bus or train, but they'll offer you transportation with a bus or a van, sometimes claiming to work for the Tourist Authority of Thailand. These are all lies. It's very easy to walk up to a train or bus station at nearly any time and buy a ticket on the spot. The Tourism Authority of Thailand is a government agency. They don't run tours, and they definitely don't employ touts that hover around train and bus stations. This is just an attempt to divert business to private bus and van services. These will normally be overpriced, and you can often wait a very long time as you'll need to wait for them to fill the van to capacity before they leave. Let's move on to a scam you might encounter when traveling between cities by train or bus. When you walk up to a train or bus station, you might encounter a tout who asks where you're going. When you tell them, they'll say there are no more seats on the bus or train, but they'll offer you transportation with a bus or a van, sometimes claiming to work for the Tourist Authority of Thailand. These are all lies. It's very easy to walk up to a train or bus station at nearly any time and buy a ticket on the spot. The Tourism Authority of Thailand is a government agency. They don't run tours, and they definitely don't employ touts that hover around train and bus stations. This is just an attempt to divert business to private bus and van services. These will normally be overpriced, and you can often wait a very long time as you'll need to wait for them to fill the van to capacity before they leave. Perhaps you're looking for your own transportation and you'd rather rent a motorbike. In this scam, I'm going to cover both motorbikes and jet skis, and the parameters of the scam are almost exactly the same. The rental shop will try to blame you for pre-existing damages to a motorbike or a jet ski. I'm going to go over 3 steps you can take to protect yourself. First, you can rent a motorbike or a jet ski directly from your hotel. Many hotels have rental agencies, and they're very unlikely to operate any types of scams, as it would be very damaging to their hotel as a brand. Second, check Google reviews. Bigger shops that have been in existence for a very long period of time with lots of reviews are very unlikely to operate scams. And third, when you rent a bike or a jet ski, make sure to take lots of pictures and videos and document any damages that you notice. However, the worst scammers can use temporary paint to cover up damages that they can later wipe off to try to blame you. For that reason, steps 1 and 2 can actually be more important. For jet skis in particular, you can take one additional step. Just hang out at the beach near the shop. You can observe how the shop interacts with customers, especially when they return the jet ski. If everything appears to operate smoothly for the other customers, chances are it'll be fine for you too. Finally, if you rent a motorbike or a jet ski, never leave your passport as a deposit. If it's lost, you'll have a significant problem, and if the shop is running any scams, they can hold your passport hostage to demand a much larger sum of money. Let's talk about the scams that you'll encounter simply walking around here in Bangkok. These normally occur in very touristy areas like Khao San Road, the old city around the Grand Palace, and between Asoke and Nana in Sukhumvit. Let's get started with one that I actually experienced twice just this week. I was walking out of the MRT at MRT Sukhumvit, and an Indian guy approached me. He started asking me about the color of Thai money. What color is Thai money? Then he took out his wallet and opened it. There were a few bills in the wallet, but it wasn't Thai baht. After showing me his money, he asked me to show him the color of Thai money. I told him I didn't have any Thai money. Then he asked me where I'm from. I said that I'm from Canada, and he talked about how much he loves Canada and how he plans to visit soon. And you can guess what happened next. He asked me to show him Canadian money. Clearly, this guy really wanted to see my money. At this point, I had had enough, and I simply said no and walked away. He protested. He wanted me to stay. And this is something that scammers are very good at. They try to build a connection, build rapport, and make you feel guilty for walking away. They'll ask you where you're from. They'll ask you about your country. These guys study and learn a few things about each country in order to appear authentic, and then they try to create a perception that this was an authentic personal connection during your trip. Another common scam you'll encounter along Sukhumvit is the pseudo fortune tellers. These guys are usually Indian or Nepalese, and they'll start a conversation by saying, "You're very lucky, do you want to know why?" But they're only lucky because they keep on walking. If you stop, these guys will do some half-baked fortune telling and then ask you for money for the privilege of the fortune telling experience. And both of these scams are examples of a very common friendly stranger scam. A friendly stranger approaches you in a tourist area. He tries to build an authentic connection with you, and then he'll use that connection to try to scam you. There are many variations to this scam. The number of variations grows every single year as entrepreneurial scammers come up with new methods, but I'll run through a few of the most popular variations. First, we have the tourist attraction is closed scam. This is also known as the Grand Palace scam because it occurs very frequently around the Grand Palace, but it can occur around any major tourist attraction. The scammer will approach you before you get to the entrance of the tourist attraction, and he'll tell you that it's closed. He might say that it's a special holiday or it's the king's birthday, and he'll offer to bring you on your own personal tour. This is a lie. The tourist attraction is almost never closed. And if you follow him on his personal tour, you'll get led into a variety of other scams. Often he'll bring you to a totally different free attraction where one of his colleagues will be waiting and they'll charge you a ticket price to enter. Another common scam is when people are standing around in tourist areas and offer you things that seem to be free. The most common variation is the bird seed scam. You'll have an older man giving birds some bird seed, and he'll offer you some so you can join him, or you'll have somebody try to put a bracelet on your wrist. In both these cases, you'll be asked for money afterwards. You have to remember that nothing is free in very touristy areas. As you walk around any tourist area, you will notice a lot of Nepalese and Indian guys trying to sell you suits and watches. The watches are completely fake, and the prices are very high. And the suit guys are a little bit different. There are actually some excellent tailors in Bangkok where you can buy great, high-quality, inexpensive suits. But The touts are much more likely to bring you into an overpriced shop, and some of them will run outright scams. The most common scam is when a suit tailor uses cheaper material to manufacture the suit after you've already paid for it. You can avoid this scam by researching tailors using Google reviews and avoiding places that employ a lot of touts and try to get tourists to come in off the street. Another scam that you might encounter is when a tout offers you a discount on a service or product. This is common if you're walking around checking out places like massage shops. If you're standing outside and checking the prices, a tout may approach you and offer to bring you to their shop where they'll give you a discounted price. They'll walk you to the shop and ask for payment. The tout normally doesn't work there. He just wanders around on the street pretending to work for shops and pocketing the money. You can follow one simple rule. Never follow a tout anywhere. Whatever deal they're offering is normally a hustle or a scam. Most shopkeepers and vendors are good, honest people, but you can occasionally encounter a scam. Always ask for the price or to see a menu before you order, especially in the tourist areas. If you don't ask for a menu, it's a little bit like getting into a tuk-tuk without first negotiating the price. You might encounter an unscrupulous vendor who will ask you for a lot of money simply because they know you didn't see the menu. As you walk around in touristy areas, you need to be careful about pickpocketing. You can take a few steps to protect yourself. First, never leave your phone sitting on a table in a popular tourist area. It's better to wear shorts or pants with deep pockets and even zippers, and make sure to keep your belongings in front of you. Pickpocketing gangs have also been associated with credit card fraud and theft. If you lose your wallet, you should immediately cancel all your credit cards. Next up, we've got accommodation scams. I recall when I first arrived in Bangkok, I had booked a hotel on Booking.com. On the website, it looked quite nice, clean, spacious, and new. But when I arrived, it looked dirty, small, and old. The reality is that the hotel was using older pictures that they had shot using a wide-angle camera lens. You're probably aware that reading reviews is important before booking a hotel, but Thailand has strict defamation laws. Over the years, I've noticed a big difference between the reviews on booking websites like Agoda and Booking.com and Google. The reviews on Google are consistently more accurate and balanced, and I always check the Google reviews before I book a hotel. Many travelers choose to book with Airbnb instead, and I encountered a scam using Airbnb a few months ago. I booked a large condo on the app, and when I arrived, it simply wasn't available. Instead, the host had left keys for two much smaller units. In the end, I canceled through Airbnb and had to book a much more expensive last-minute condo. This is a bait-and-switch scam. Some hosts advertise multiple units. If one is unavailable, they'll simply offer you another one. When you're in Thailand, you might be interested in an organized tour, but you need to be a little bit cautious. There are some unscrupulous companies that don't include all of the costs of a tour. These companies will bring you to the destination. It might be an island excursion or a safari. And when you arrive, you'll be told you need to pay an additional fee to enter the island or the safari, or you'll be stuck waiting around for the van to bring you back to your hotel. When you book a tour, always ask exactly what's included in the price and check the tour company using Google reviews. Some of these tours aren't exactly scams, but they can be massively overpriced. Some of the cheaper tours might use crowded hostels that feel more like a prison cell, as well as bus or train tickets that would have only cost about 15 to 100 baht per trip. After all, local travel in Thailand is very inexpensive. And of course, Thailand is very famous for its nightlife, and with that fame, you've got plenty of scams that you're going to need to watch out for. I experienced a common scam quite recently. I was at a restaurant in the Sukhumvit neighborhood. I ordered dinner. I was out with friends. And when my bill arrived, there was a beer added to my bill. When my friends checked their bills, everybody had a beer added to their bill. I called the waitress over to protest the bills, and as soon as I mentioned the beers, she took the bills and brought back new bills with all of the beers removed. This is the padded bill scam, and it is very common in nightlife areas here. And while this scam occurs at restaurants, it happens a lot more in the nightlife areas like Soy Cowboy and Nana. In these bars, the waitress will bring you a bill in a cup, and each time you order a drink, she will take the bill and bring a new one with your updated drink total. Normally, if you have a few drinks, the waitress may try to sneak an extra drink onto the bill. The easiest way to avoid this scam is to simply pay for every drink as it comes. While some bars attempt to scam you by adding a sneaky extra drink onto your bill, there are other bars that are entirely scams. If you're not careful and go into the wrong bar, you could find yourself with an absolutely enormous bill. This is often called the ping pong show scam. If you walk around the busy tourist nightlife districts, many people will come up to you saying, "Ping pong show, ping pong show." They'll normally lead you to an upstairs, nondescript area with the promise of seeing a free ping pong show. As I mentioned earlier, nothing in the tourist areas is free. You'll be given a drinks menu and asked to order, and when you decide to leave, your bill will arrive, and it can be absolutely huge. There are stories of 5,000 baht bills, 20,000 baht bills. At this point, large security guards will block the exit, and you'll be told to pay the bill. Never follow a tout, and never follow the recommendations from tuk-tuk drivers or taxi drivers, especially when it comes to nightlife. If you do want to check out a go-go bar, I highly recommend that you check those Google reviews first. The reality is, you have plenty of great nightlife options in Bangkok, but you might encounter another common scam: fake alcohol. Have you ever seen the very popular buckets at Khao San Road? These are very inexpensive. They taste horrible, and you'll often get a brutal hangover afterward. These areas are somewhat notorious for having fake alcohol, which is normally brought in from Malaysia. In this video, I went over pretty much every scam that you might encounter here in Thailand. It's important to remember that if you find yourself in a scam, always avoid escalating the conflict. In most situations, it's better to take it as a learning lesson, move on, and avoid these scams in the future. That's one of the reasons why I made this video. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. If you're involved in a significant scam or you really want to pursue justice, your best course of action is to contact the tourist police. Dial 1-155, inform the police about the scam. They have English-speaking staff and work with foreign volunteers who will be very familiar with all of the scams you might be involved in. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more information about Thailand, and hit that like button. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.